Math 1332, Chapter 7, Consumer Mathematics, Section 5, Installment Buying, Video 2, Calculating Amount Financed, Total Installment Price, and Finance Charge. As a consumer, it is worth your time to ask yourself these questions, especially the finance charge, because if you recall from the previous video, the finance charge is the difference between what you pay for an item and the actual cost of the item. So you have to ask yourself, is it worth that much money for me to be able to take possession of this item now and pay it out over time? Let's take a look at an example where somebody's buying a Jeep. Emily bought a 3-year-old Jeep for $29,650. Having recently purchased a Jeep ourselves, my family, I can tell you that finding a 3-year-old Jeep for that price is kind of a steal, at least in terms of what they're valued at. Anyway, her down payment was $12,000, and she will have to pay $514 monthly for 60 months. Find the amount financed, the total installment price, and the finance charge. All right, so let's quickly remind ourselves what some of these terms mean, starting with amount financed. The amount financed is how much you owe after you make the down payment. I think of it more as a concept than a formula, but if you really want to write it down as a formula, amount financed is the stated purchase price minus the down payment. Now, there are installment plans where the amount financed is the stated purchase price, where they let you have no down payment at all, have a down payment of zero. Excuse me. So let's figure out what the amount financed is here. The stated purchase price of the Jeep was $29,650. The down payment is $12,000. And the difference is pretty easy to calculate because 29 minus 12 is just 17. So the difference is $17,650. Now, before we move on to the next part, what are the advantages? Because you always got to think about this from the seller perspective and the buyer perspective. So let's start with the buyer. What is the advantage to the buyer making a down payment? One answer is they owe less that they have to finance. Now, why is that important? Because the finance charge, the extra that you'll pay, is almost always based on the amount financed. So if you can lower the amount financed, then that's the lesser finance charge that you'll have to pay. So in other words, by paying more up front, in the long term, you're lowering the total amount that you would pay. What's the advantage to the seller? Well, it's obvious. The seller gets some money right now up front. As a seller, how comfortable would you be giving somebody a $30,000 Jeep and then giving you nothing up front? Well, you'd like a little something right now. So again, it's a mutually agreed upon thing that's beneficial to both people from the correct perspective. The amount financed is $17,650. You can also think of the amount financed as the amount that you're borrowing from the seller. I still owe you this. So I'm borrowing this, and I'm going to pay it back over time. So there's a couple of ways to think about the amount financed. It's the amount you still owe, or it's the amount you're borrowing from the seller and just repaying over time. All right, let's talk about the total installment price. Remember, the total installment price is basically the total that you pay for an item. In this case, the total that I pay for the Jeep. Now, I want to be careful when I write these formulas because these formulas aren't the only way to calculate some of these things. They just happen to be the way to calculate these things in this particular problem. It's more important to understand the concept and then ask yourself in this context what makes sense. In this case, the total installment price is the total that I'm going to pay. Excuse me. So the total installment price in this case is the down payment plus all the monthly payments. I can never type the word monthly correct the first time. Of course, if I knew how to type, that would help. So again, I wouldn't be so hung up on remembering formulas or whatnot, but ideas. Total installment price is the total I'm going to pay you for this object. So in this case, I am paying, or rather Emily is paying $12,000. Where's my equal sign? That's the first thing she pays, but what does she pay next? She pays $514 60 times over. So 60 times $514. That's not a dollar sign. Okay. Now you can do this in bits and pieces, but if you have a scientific calculator, you should really get in the practice of putting in a whole expression all at once. In this case, 12,000 plus 60 times 514, and we get 42,840. Quick comment about about calculators in general, though. If you have a calculator, and I really should have brought this up several videos ago, but if you have a calculator and you put in 12,000 plus 60 times 514 and get a different answer, your calculator doesn't know the order of operations. Specifically, if you typed in 12,000 plus 60 times 514, exactly like you said it, press equals, and got this number, 6,198,840, number one, your intuition should say that's probably not the total installment price for the Jeep. I'm not paying $6 million for a Jeep. But if your calculator got that, it's because if you typed in this expression in that order, it did the addition first and then the multiplication second. But the order of operations, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, says that the multiplication occurs before the addition. So if your calculator gave you an answer of 6 million plus for this answer, then it doesn't know the order of operations and it is not a scientific calculator. You should get a scientific calculator. So that's the total installment price, $42,840. It's a lot of money. But pay it out over 5 years, it doesn't seem as much. All right, so what about the finance charge? Well, the finance charge is how much extra you paid for this Jeep. And again, I'm going to type a formula for it, but I don't want you to get so wrapped up on saying this is the formula for finance charge, because how you calculate finance charge depends upon the problem. In this case, the concept of finance charge is how much extra do I pay on over the price of the item. In this case, the finance charge is the total installment price. So what we just calculated. Let me widen this text box. Minus the stated purchase price. So our finance charge can be found by simply subtracting $42,840 minus the stated purchase price, which was $29,650. And let's see what that equals. 42,840 minus 29,650 is $13,190. That's a lot of money. This car dealer made $13,180 off of you. Well, on top, they made that much more than the stated price. For some people, they're okay with that. I'm okay paying out an extra $13,180 over 60 payments. In fact, if you divided that by 60, it's like you're paying an extra, that can't be right. I guess it is. If you divide that over the monthly payments, and then for each of your monthly payments, $219.67 of it goes towards the finance charge. The rest pays off what you owe. And for some people, they're okay with this, and because they want the Jeep now, and that's the price of participating in an installment plan. I agree to pay you this extra $13,180 over the span of 5 years for the privilege of driving this Jeep now before I pay it all off. So, like I said, don't get so hung up on these formulas. Amount financed equals stated purchase price minus down payment. That's how we calculated it in this problem. Total installment price is down payment plus all monthly payments. That's how we calculated it in this problem. Finance charge is total installment price minus stated purchase price. That's how we calculated it in this problem. It's more important to understand the concepts and then ask yourself how to calculate them in a situation. The amount financed is what I owe you after the down payment. The total installment price is everything I will pay when it's all said and done. And the finance charge is the extra that I will pay you. All right, well, that wasn't too bad. In the next video, we will figure out how to calculate a monthly payment, because sometimes you're not told the monthly payment up front, you're told other information, and the question is, what will the monthly payment be?